Is Major League Soccer a top 10 league in the world? Well, that's exactly the argument Matthew Doyle here is making, is that MLS could be considered a top league in the world by many different metrics. Now, he's making this on an article he wrote and partially about Messi's impact in the MLS. And along with it, the narrative that Messi is exposing the MLS and making the MLS look bad. But as he points out here, if you look at the expected goals and assists that Messi's gotten, he's actually performing similar to what he did in Europe. So if this is how he was performing in Europe, and he's performing pretty much as good as he is in MLS, it's not really the indictment of the MLS that some of you think. But let's look at some of these other stats. On average, MLS is the 6th highest average player salary. MLS is 8th in medium club value. MLS is 8th in total transfer spending. In the entire world, only Brazil's Serie A sends more talent to Europe. So here's the thing. Is MLS a top 10 league in the world? Well, I'm not sure. I probably would actually put it as just on the outside looking in. But as Matthew Doyle also points out in his article, there is no perfect way to compare leagues to each other, especially leagues in different regions that do not compete against each other very often. The one thing I will say about MLS, and this is something that it has over most European leagues, outside the top 5 at least, is it is top to bottom more comparable and competitive than most leagues in the world. If you look at leagues outside the top 5 European leagues, such as the Portuguese League, the Dutch League, the Turkish League, the Russian League, the Scottish League, etc., you have 2 or 3 very, very, very good teams. Then you have a bunch of mediocre teams, and then you might even have some just really, really bad teams. To where in MLS, if you take the first place team and the last place team, they can still have competitive matches. The parity in MLS is by far the best in the world. And this is one of the best selling points for MLS because you're more likely to have good competitive games in every single game. So, while many people will talk about Benfica, Ajax, Celtic, Rangers, Zenit St. Petersburg in Russia, Fenerbahce and Galatasaray in Turkey, and say that is why those leagues are just better than MLS, they might want to look at the smaller teams in those leagues and say, well, could they beat a mid-level MLS team? And my answer is, I don't think so, actually. In fact, I would make the argument that the average team's level is probably a better metric for how good the league is than just the very, very top team, or even just the very, very worst teams in the league. So at the end of the day, do I think MLS is a top 10 league right now? Probably not. But we're definitely top 15 in my opinion. And we are going to get over that hump and get within the top 10, probably within the next 10, 15 years, if not sooner. And we're going to, after that, get into the top 5, the top 3, and eventually, probably MLS can be the best league in the world. How soon that happens, I don't know. I could guess it could take anywhere from 20 to 50 years, maybe a little more. But in the future, it will happen.